afternoon, Eagles fans. I'm Chris McPherson, and welcome to the Kickoff Show presented by Axalta. I'm joined alongside Fran Duffy as we're going to preview a much-anticipated game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Football Giants, but not for the reasons you expect. Not because of the rivalry, but because it's the first game without Carson Wentz as a starting quarterback. Nick Foles takes over, and Fran, there's been chaos, there's been panic, there's been depression, despair among Eagles fans all week long. Give them a little ray of hope. Tell them it's going to be okay. Let them know what you expect to see from Nick Foles as a quarterback today.
It is going to be okay. I think when you look at the Eagles scheme and you look at Doug Peterson and Frank Reich and John DeFilippo, everything that they've done offensively to construct a scheme where all the quarterback has to do is execute. Now, is Nick Foles going to be Carson Wentz? Is he going to be able to create plays outside of the structure of the scheme, and when things break down, run for 18 yards and pick up a first down, or run to the left and run to the right and find Nelson Aguilar for a 60-yard touchdown? He's not going to be able to do that on a weekly basis like what we saw from Carson Wentz. That being said, he's got the ability to be able to execute this offense at a high level. He's done it over the course of his career. He did it here in Philadelphia. He did it last year in Kansas City, 2-0 last year as a starter with the Chiefs in the same offense with the same terminology, the same philosophical objectives. I think Nick Foles is going to do just fine. All he has to do is just be himself.
So, Fran, the big question all week long, we've asked the players, we've asked the coaches, the coordinators, how much will this scheme change with Foles going in as a quarterback?
The scheme itself isn't going to change. They're not going to do anything radical. That being said, every quarterback has preferences, right? Sure. And whenever you have a quarterback change, there are going to be concepts that he likes more than the guy that previously had the job. So we might see some things from that standpoint, but I don't think we're going to see far less of one thing over another, and they're going to run the ball at an 80% clip or anything like that. I think you're going to see a lot of the same concepts, a lot of the same plays we saw with Carson Wentz. You're just going to see there number 9, who you see there right on your screen. You're going to see him pulling the trigger on some of those deep throws, some of those intermediate throws. He can make every throw in this Eagles playbook.
I feel like it's shades of 2013, seeing him with the white jersey and the green pants. First time with that color combo this season. Cross your fingers. It brings us some good luck. So one aspect of the offensive line that might make things a little more challenging for Nick Foles. Doesn't mean it's going to throw things completely off kilter, but Stefan Wisniewski, quietly having a very good season at left guard. You don't hear his name much, and usually when you're an offensive lineman, that means good things are going on with the team. So he's out. Chance Warmack, it looks like, will be the one who gets a start in his absence. Why would you say, Fran, that the Eagles go with Warmack over, say, Isaac Seumalo, the promising second-year prospect who has had his own share of ups and downs this season?
Yeah, I think really when it comes down to it, if you want for one game, you're going to say, okay, look, we need to beat the New York Giants on Sunday. Let's go with Chance Warmack, the veteran, the guy that you feel as a coaching staff that can come in and play left guard right now, especially in a game where you feel like they're going to be able to run the football. Remember, last time the Eagles faced the Giants, that was kind of the coming out party for this run game.
Correct.
They had just lost to the Kansas City Chiefs where LeGarrette Blount didn't get a carry. Then they come out and he runs for over 100 yards. Corey Clement had kind of his breakout game that game. I would expect a lot of run plays from this Eagles offense today, and I think Chance Warmack, they're hoping, is going to be at the point of attack, the focal point in some of those run plays.
So you mentioned the ground game. It's interesting that Jay Ajayi wasn't on the Eagles roster for the first matchup with the Giants. So do you think after he had the most touches that he's had since he joined the Eagles via trade from Miami, do you think the Eagles rely on him a little bit more, especially the way they did down the stretch last Sunday in that amazing win over the Rams?
Yeah, not just the most carries like you mentioned, but also 40-plus snaps. I mean, he saw a lot of time on the field last Sunday against the Rams. Now, I expect that, at this point in the year, now that he has been inculcated into this scheme now for a few weeks, he feels comfortable with the scheme. He knows everything that he's supposed to be doing. I would imagine he's going to start seeing kind of the lion's share. You're still going to see plenty of LeGarrette Blount. You're still going to see Corey Clement. The thing that excites me most, though, and we talked about this when they made the trade for Ajayi, is that it's starting to get cold. These guys are starting to wear down defensively. Everybody's banged up on both sides of the football across the league. You got to feel good if you're the Eagles offense to have those 3 battering rams, 3 physical backs that can get downhill and inflict some pain on opposing defenders.
One note here for the Giants defense, Landon Collins, amazing playmaker at safety. Arguably the best player on that Giants defense. You may say Olivier Vernon, maybe Jason Pierre-Paul, but definitely in the secondary, he is the guy. He is playing this week after limited on Thursday because of an ankle injury, not practicing at all Friday, and he was doubtful. The Giants list him as doubtful, and typically in this day and age with the NFL, if you're doubtful, you're not playing. So you have to give kudos to him because there is nothing for the Giants to play for other than to spoil the Eagles trying to clinch the first-round bye, which is on the line for them today, and potentially home field advantage. So what do you think that means for the Giants defense having Landon Collins there patrolling the secondary?
He's turned into a really nice player. And a lot of people were excited about potentially adding him to the Eagles roster when he was coming out of Alabama a few years ago. And he has turned into a nice player that does everything for that Giants defense. We saw Zach Ertz there on the screen a minute ago. He's going to be a big part of trying to cover Zach Ertz and you know, everything that he does in the passing game. We get the return of number 86 this week. I think that that's really the area where you're going to see him kind of impact the game the most.
All right, let's go to the Eagles defense here. And I'll go to the safety as well. We're seeing the lineup here. You're getting Joe Walker back at the Mike linebacker position, starting there. We wonder how the Eagles will line up because the Giants offense, Fran, has been a little bit different since the first meeting. Typically, they're 11 personnel team, 3 wide receivers. You're in your nickel package the whole time. But the Giants' go-to guy in the offense now is Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
You're seeing more multiple tight end sets. How do you envision the Eagles defense trying to line up against this Giants offense, which has struggled mightily with the injuries to players like Brandon Marshall and, of course, Odell Beckham Jr.?
Well, I think one package that we've seen a little bit more of over the last few weeks has been the Eagles' big nickel package and sometimes the dime package. So when they're in that big nickel, Patrick Robinson doesn't necessarily come in the slot. It's been Corey Graham or Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm Jenkins going to the slot and Corey Graham coming on the field at safety. Between those two packages, 5 and 6 defensive backs, I think you're going to see that a good amount today when the Giants decide to go 12 personnel with Evan Ingram on the field. I think that's how they'll choose to match up to him. And you're right, he is the go-to guy in that passing game.
Okay, you mentioned the secondary. I just want to give some kudos to Malcolm Jenkins and the leadership on this football team because last week after the win over the Rams, I don't know if you watched the video on Philadelphia's.com, the Eagles app, YouTube. We have it all over our social media channels. Malcolm Jenkins addressed the team in the locker room. Basically said, we still have everything ahead of us. We have everything to play for. And he wanted to get the message ahead before the players met with the media, before they started hearing the chatter from the outside that, look, they lost Carson Wentz, but it's been a next man up mentality all throughout the course of the season. And being in the locker room this week, Fran, I sense no panic from the players. I think, quite honestly, they're excited for Nick Foles. They appreciate what he's done to this point. They know what he can do on the football field, and they want to see him perform. They want to see him deliver and go out and produce and showcase what he can do for this football team. I think truly they are excited to see what Nick Foles can do. A lot of people are doubting the Eagles and how far they can go because Carson Wentz is injured. And of course, Carson Wentz to me is MVP of the league this year.
Of course.
But still, Nick Foles, you know, I look at what Howie Roseman has done this offseason. We see Jay Ajayi there coming in via trade. We see Nick Foles coming in free agency. 2 master strokes, so to speak, by Howie Roseman getting this team to 11-2 and being in the position that it's in.
Yeah, and when you look at the amount of injuries this team has suffered at every level, what was it, 5 team captains announced at the beginning of the year, 3 of them gone to injury now at this point in the year. I think that speaks to the depth, and you have to talk about Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas, that entire scouting staff, what they've been able to do to acquire talent across the depth chart to be able to bring it in and really kind of keep this team afloat. 11-2 now at this point in the year. One of the things that really gets me excited, though, C-Mac, when you look at pregame, we're all following social media, trying to see what's going on at MetLife Stadium. Seeing that the Eagles brought Jason Peters and Jordan Hicks and Darren Sproles and all those leaders, all those guys that were hurt, bringing them with them to MetLife Stadium to offer that extra boost of leadership with Carson Wentz out. I love that move by this coaching staff.
Do you think any miracles will be needed today at MetLife Stadium?
I don't think you're going to need a miracle, and I hope you don't need a miracle.
Exactly.
I love miracles. I don't think you're going to need a miracle today.
All right, Jake Elliott, he's ready. If we need another 61-yard field goal, he'll be good to go. So, Fran, phenomenal stuff as always. We'll see you on the post-game show presented by Rico. Now, one of the things that makes Carson Wentz so great is his ability to make plays outside of structure when everything breaks down around him. Quite honestly, it covers up some mistakes. Eagles game plan hosts Mike Quick and John Clark explain how the Eagles offense needs to shore things up just a little bit.
All right, Mike. Nick Foles really had his most successful moments as an Eagle. He was 14-4 as a starter under Chip Kelly, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. What does he do well, but what has Carson done that Nick can't exactly do?
Well, Carson does things that there are not many quarterbacks that can do, the way he extends plays and some of the situations that he gets himself out of. This offensive line and everyone across the board has to do a much better job of protecting Nick because he can't move like this guy moves. There are not many. And you watch Carson on this play, and just the mobility in the pocket and the ability to get out of harm's way. You've got a stunt over on this side. This guy's going to loop to the inside. This guy's going to come outside. So Corey Clement initially is going to keep his focus on this guy. But when he sees that stunt, he kind of leans back to the inside, and Ogletree almost gets a hit on Carson Wentz. But watch how he feels the pressure and how he steps up out of harm's way and extends that play well enough to get the ball off down the field. That's one of the things that Carson gives you that not a lot of quarterbacks can do. So the offensive line and everybody really will have to pick up their game to make sure that Nick is protected first and make sure that he has time to throw the football.
Doug Peterson said he really doesn't have to change much with the offense with Nick Foles, but what are the things he can do to help Nick Foles?
Well, see, I don't think he's going to change a whole lot. I think the run-pass options that are in the offense, I think all of the things that they do, they're going to continue to do those things. They will run the football because that's what they have to lean on. Run the ball well, and if they do that, I think Nick Foles will be just fine. Nick is a veteran of this offense. He was 2-0 last year running this offense for Kansas City. Nick can run the offense without a problem, but the guys around him, they'll have to pick it up a little bit.
Just before the start of the season, tackle Lane Johnson penned a powerful first-person perspective, explaining just how confident he was in this year's team. Well, the Eagles are 11-2 and have the best record in the NFL. Does he think to help lay a spark for this squad? He goes one-on-one. We're going to bring it back again. Eagles Hall of Fame wide receiver Mike Quick, one-on-one with Lane Johnson.
The Eagles have won the NFC East. The Eagles have won the NFC East.
Lane, first of all, congratulations on being the NFC East champs. And how do you feel about where you guys are now?
Feels good to clinch it. It's my, second time I've done it in my career. It's been 4 or 5 years since my rookie year, so feels good. Now we're just playing, man, for home field advantage, and man, that's what's ahead of us.
We're playing for something bigger now, boys. Something bigger. It's gonna take every freaking buddy in the room.
Now, how big do you think it would be for you guys to clinch home field throughout the playoffs?
That's what we need. I think that's what they need too. I mean, you come here, it's going to be snowing, whatever. It's going to be crowd roaring. I mean, what better stage than being there at the link? There's not a better stage. So I mean, and we know that. We know it'll be a tough place to play for opponents. So that's what we're trying to accomplish.
You ready, babe? Let's go, baby. Yeah, baby, let's go score. Let's go score, baby!
At the start of the season, you wrote a column in the Players Tribune, and you talked about this team and that they were going to surprise a lot of people. How do you feel about that comment now?
I mean, I knew it back then. It sounded silly then just because of the situation we were in before, but I saw this coming all season. Just with my situation that fueled me, and I just saw the talent that we brought in and how we were competing OTAs, and just compared to past seasons, we've been 10-6 and stuff like that. So I saw it coming all along.
Well, nobody wants to see this. Carson Wentz is going off to get looked at.
You also talked about Carson Wentz in that article, and you talked about his toughness, his North Dakota tough.
He fires, and it is caught. Touchdown, Alshon Jeffrey.
How did that happen?
I don't know, but he somehow threaded the needle.
How did that happen?
Everybody's even talking about after the game. It gets so many people fired up, and it just shows you how much that guy cares about football and how much he cares about this team and how he carries himself every day. So that's just the kind of image he has with us, with this organization, and that'll be with us for a long time.
Lane Johnson has been a man on a mission all season long. Now, the Eagles didn't have tight end Zach Ertz in last week's win over the Rams, so the rest of the tight end group stepped up in his absence. Brent Selleck, the trusty veteran, caught the first of 4 touchdown passes on the day from Carson Wentz. Selleck was mic'd up for the emotional win. Let's take a listen.
Let's go, Fipper! They're going to get the whole thing today. Whole thing. Hey, let's do it! Let's do it! Flying V, flying V! Harvey! Hey! Ah! 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 That's what I'm talking about, baby! Ah! I love you! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Hey, Fletch! Let's go, baby. Let's go. Here we go. Hey, be ready for, hey, listen, be ready for some bull right now, all right? Let's go, man. Let's go. Be ready for it, and then get back, flip your hips, and let's take this to the house. 4 on 3, 1, 2, 3, score. All right, hey, let's do this. Let's go, man. Hey, we've been here before. Let's do it, man. Nick, great throw. Hey, way to be a dog. Hey, we're going to get another one. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get some points. Big dog, let's go. Hey, 3-1, go get him back. Let's go. They don't score, they don't win. Let's go. Hey.
Brent Selleck, the longest tenure player on the Eagles roster, certainly appreciating this 11-2 run. Now, Mike Quick, he needs a little bit of a break, so what we're going to do now is say goodbye. If you're following us on Facebook or Twitter, if you want to come back and watch the show on the Eagles app or PhiladelphiaEagles.com, we're going to have the players to watch and the key storylines after these couple of messages.